Ladies and gentlemen, today's date is it's Sunday, the 2nd of February, 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about a couple of issues before we get into the big video I was doing till I found out they really don't like me talking about battle management systems and 9/11. They haven't hacked me for a while. I've been good, but I know exactly what I can and cannot talk about. It's amazing. And that's the way they can control narratives. They don't put a gun to anyone's head. Your internet just doesn't work. We're going to talk about the cartels later in a proper video. And I promise to be good and not mention your battle management system. But we want to talk now about US private security contractors handling what goes in and out of Gaza with Egypt. Now, if there's not a slap in the face to Bibi, and then maybe Bibi slapped someone in the face with a Black Hawk helicopter on automatic, I think we're starting to see, because we're going to talk about what Chabad said to Bibi. Now, you remember before where I stated that, there we are, we would see a US Marine Corps base in Gaza, and that they are basically telling Bibi to clean up his fake Islamic terror network, which has been funded through City of London, Bank of International Settlements. ISIS was all funded. All the radical Wahhabis were funded by Saudi money, the madrasas, all from outside. All right. Once they killed King Faisal, the real deal, and in came the imposters, the coke addicts, the womanizers, whilst they apply Sharia law to their own people while they don't even live remotely to it, and waste the resources of Saudi Arabian people's resources. Now, they funded, remember, they had to create Islamic terror. It was post-1973, Yom Kippur. They didn't have a Holocaust to use then. That's when they brought in 1975. They brought in Steven Spielberg when he started doing his little documentaries. Again, Shulmat Haloni, I've forgotten her name. As she said, it's not about an ethical, moral lesson with the Holocaust. It's a weapon. If when the Europeans bother us, we raise the Holocaust. If Americans bother us, we call them an anti-Semite. None of it's working anymore. And as Professor Norman Finkelstein's mother always says, they've lied about it so much, it's a wonder anyone believes it at all. So now we go to the opposite end, where Hitler wasn't such a bad guy after all, according to many. So, these are the polarized extreme times we live in. But we remember the floating jetty they were originally going to put in, which then just suddenly fell apart. There were Moshe and Shlomo down there pulling out the pins. That was a warning. Anyway, they've said, clean up your mess, and that means a lot of dead, innocent people. I don't know what the answer is. But you saw how briefly and easily they killed off their invention, which is Islamic terror. I mean, do we have to debate it anymore? Not only the admissions about Hamas and funding Hamas out of Qatar, where all the Islamic terror heads are living right next door to the giant US military base, or right next to where they build the F-35 engines in Turkey. I mean, it's gaslighting. It's in front of people's faces, but no one wants to see it, apparently. The Islamic terror network now has to be dismantled, and the US is going to move into the region. Exactly where they put the base, I don't know, whether it's on the Golan Heights or right in Gaza. I think that will be a slap in someone's face. So, Bibi responds. Remember when Bibi got upset and he bought in and collapsed Microsoft with the software update, remember? Yeah, and it bought $7 billion, brought him down for 3 days. That was Bibi before he came, and he's coming again, and he just sent a message with a Black Hawk, in my opinion. Black Hawk, and maybe someone had to go back at him with not that I'm very fond of Charles Johnson particularly, but he makes a point, that old Learjet, very fast aircraft, climbs really fast, moves out very fast, older aircraft, which was also a medevac unit flying to Tijuana, picking up drugs, and I'd believe it. There was probably more than drugs on board when it fell out of the sky, which was interesting. We'll have to think about these things, but it's fair to speculate. So let's just watch this. About nearly 100 US Special Forces veterans will be hired to operate key checkpoints in Gaza. It's a company from Carolina. Well, who might that be? Any ideas, anybody? Won't that be interesting? I haven't even bothered to look because I already know it's him. Don't worry, I don't care who's at the front. He's in there somewhere.
The U.S. security firm is sending almost 100 American Special Forces veterans to help run a checkpoint in Gaza. It's part of the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. The company, UG Solutions, is offering veterans a daily pay rate starting at $1,100 plus a $10,000 advance. The North Carolina-based firm says the contractors will inspect vehicles and manage checkpoint operations. Some are already in country.
So it's not the UN, and it's not Israeli Defense Forces, and they're very upset about this. Hence the black hole.
But the company is not saying how many. This checkpoint was a sticking point in negotiations. Israel initially wanted to staff it with its own troops, but later agreed to allow private security contractors to help keep aid moving. Egyptian forces are also on site using scanners to check for weapons. Having American contractors in Gaza is a first, and it comes with risks. Hamas is still active in the area, and you don't need to be a security expert to know there will likely be clashes with militants or civilians upset over U.S. support for Israel. The contractors will be armed with M4 rifles and Glock sidearms, but the exact rules for engagement aren't exactly clear at this time. So far, the U.S. government isn't commenting on the arrangement. A source familiar with the deal says the funding comes from Israel and unnamed Arab nations, not Washington. Many Arab nations support Israel's fight against Hamas.
Israel's actually going to pay for something? I don't believe it. No way. It was probably given as a grant from the U.S. taxpayers to pay. Now, there's something changed. It'll be interesting how this unfolds.
And other Iranian-backed proxies, but don't announce that support publicly for fear of retaliation. The thought of using private contractors is a little worrisome to critics of the deal. Private security firms did play controversial roles in past conflicts, like in 2007, when Blackwater contractors killed 14 civilians in Iraq, sparking outrage and legal action. Analysts say deploying American security personnel in Gaza could create similar risks, given the fragile situation. For now, though, the checkpoint remains operational, and thousands of displaced Palestinians continue moving through it as they return to northern Gaza. The ceasefire, brokered by Egypt and Qatar, began on January 19th as part of a 60-day initial phase. For more of our unbiased, straight-fact report...
Well, B, it's time to write something. What can we write? B is upset. Okie dokie. Why don't we go over to... Let's hear it. Yes, I love writing on the screen. I get quite a thrill out of it. Let's now go over to this article, shall we? Here we go. Where are you, my favorite article? All right. Thank you for sending me these links. Israeli Prime Minister gifted Chitas before Trump meeting. Whoops, better turn that off. Now, Deputy Mayor of Beit Elit, a representative of the Chabad community in the city of Rabbi Meir Bar-Lev, met Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and presented him with a special gift. Let's get a bit of red here. Deputy Mayor of Beit Elit and representative of Chabad community in the city met with Prime Minister Netanyahu in his office in Jerusalem. During the meeting, which took place on the eve of Rosh Chodesh, Chabad Rabbi Bar-Lev shared the rabbi's teachings with the Prime Minister. That's meaning the racist, homicidal, medieval, religious lunatic who needs to go back to Ukraine. Bar-Lev shared the rabbi's teachings with the Prime Minister, emphasizing the message that the role of every Jew is to bring light to the world. Yeah, of course it is. Rabbi Bar-Lev, just like they did the Bolshevik Revolution with the scientific man. Bar-Lev presented the Prime Minister with the Sefer, Daily Studies in Chitas, Schottenstein edition, which he said was to help the Prime Minister withstand pressure from the U.S. Withstand pressure from the U.S. How interesting. How interesting. Let's move this up. Whoops. I'll get used to this. I do love... I'm going away soon, so I'm taking this with me. I do love my Samsung. Netanyahu is scheduled to depart for Washington, D.C. on Sunday to meet President Donald Trump and return to Israel next Thursday, though he reportedly may seek to extend his stay until Saturday. So he's traveling today. And I just wonder, is he on a Black Hawk? But, every time he appears, he seems to have to crash something or bring down electrical grid or hack a automatic telemachine network or something. Among the topics discussed in the meeting, Rabbi Bar Elev emphasized the rabbi's words ahead of the day of assuming leadership, the 10th of Shabbat, stating that the true inner faith enables one to overcome limitations and achieve significant accomplishments. Prime Minister Netanyahu praised the Chabad movement for its extensive activities and broad influence on the Jewish people worldwide. At the conclusion of the meeting, Prime Minister, ahead of his upcoming trip to the United States, and wished him great success in his mission. You know, it's time he needs to be not just arrested, but just put a bullet in his head. And I'm now calling to chop his head off, smatter him, run over him with a tank, just get rid of him, leave his wife alone. Poor Sarah, she suffered enough. And that's Trump's secret weapon. You know, you miss things. I'm telling you. Don't think that was a flippant remark by Trump. Do not think it was a flippant remark. Oh, Sarah is my secret weapon. There's a lot of speculation. I mean, you do realize that Israel isn't the only country infiltrating America. You do remember that America infiltrates Israel. Okay, that's what Daniel Lewin was. 2001, first man to die on 9/11. That's why they knocked him. And it was a chilling warning to the entire network. Shut your mouths about 9/11. We killed Daniel Lewin and you'll be next. That was the sacrifice. Daniel Lewin, a man who was not fond of Israel and often spoke out about it, according to my sources, and was actually an American patriot, did not want to go to Israel. That's what I've heard. It kind of rings true. I don't know about Amit Yaran, who recently allegedly died. I don't know whether they're all in Costa Rica getting their stem cell infusions, but how interesting. So this is pretty big. Let's see what happens. Now, let me guess. Hamas attacked the contractors. Israel messes up, and the Marines decide to do a landing to protect Americans in the Gaza Strip. If that happens, I know Arab friends, don't be too upset, Muslim friends. Just wait. All of this pain, I mean, it says me sitting comfortably in my little bunker in Mexico, but all of this pain is one day it's going to be redeemed. One day. Politics is a dirty business. I don't like the way the Slavs are being treated, but we just have to end this clown. We have to end this clown show, and it's going to take a bit of time. I also note the stories about Musk getting access to this huge treasury database. Now, don't worry about Musk. Musk is a clown, but what's fascinating is what are they going to find there that has the treasury so terrified? Well, he might mess something up and do horrible things to the economy. What might the Musk crew, which is not just Musk, the Trump crew, find in that database where all the money's gone? What might they find in that database? That's going to be very, very interesting. Musk is in the lead on that. I don't believe he's anywhere near it, but it's kind of to put the whoopsies up the old establishment. There's a lot of very interesting things happening. I want to do a proper video, although sometimes I just prefer to do these. They're just so much easier. It flows easier. I'm less anxious. I'm like a nervous wreck every time I go to the computer waiting for it to go, which it did. But anyway, it's an interesting time. A lot of interesting things happening. But it's time for Netanyahu to be dealt with. And I don't say that lightly, by the way. I don't say that lightly. You start wishing for the death of people, you're also open up, but I'm ready to go. So if I'm ready to step onto the middle of the road, and I'll have a go too. So just execute him, bullet in his head. He definitely tried to kill Trump, definitely tried to kill him. And it's time now, because I think, I know this sounds like a very simple motherhood thing to say, but I think enough people have died. What about you? Have enough people died? Say for the last 100 years, since 1917? Have enough? I'd say enough people have died. US is slowly extricating things out of the system, but man, it's a long, slow process. And the nerve of these people is incredible. Nobody's standing up against Trump. Let me now pass over and start doing a video on cartels and the horse pucky. Oh, it's going to be so difficult. It's going to be like that. The cartels are not run out of Mexico. The cartels are run out of the United States. Don't get me wrong, the financial networks go to Frankfurt, Germany, Paris, Bank of International Settlements. There's Saudi involvement, there's guns, there's drugs, you name it, Hezbollah. I get that. But what I'm telling you is the direct control is just across the border, the direct control. So if Trump just says to everyone, oh, you're not selling fentanyl anymore, go back to good old-fashioned organic cocaine, you'll still make your money. And he can't anyway. If you ended the drug trade tomorrow, you know what would happen to the US economy and the dollar, and in fact the world economy? It would collapse, as I told Mike Gill. He said, you can't, it's not going to happen, dude. You're not getting a parade. It's going to take 10 to 20 years to unravel all of this. And of course, Mike Gill knows best, and I hope he's still sitting there on Twitter talking to himself, but it's just got to get back to cocaine and maintain this network until it can be wound down. And what would all the poor Wall Street bankers, lawyers, and other useless leaders, we've got to keep them occupied, the poor things. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pretty interesting time to say the least. I'm going to say it again and again. Pluto is an Aquarius, and it's going to unravel really quick. Next 20 years are going to be wild. And it's good to see Bibi attempting to negotiate with aircraft crashing into aircraft. And I hope people have had enough of him, and it's time for someone in the Special Forces community to just take him and his bodyguards out, just shoot him dead right in the street and let Trump come out and do a classic. My goodness, what has happened to my dear friend? Beautiful man. Love that man. Dear friend of mine. How about that? I think it's time.